Hi there folks, Greeno here, and where am I today? Well, I have come all the way down to Swansea in South Wales. It's a long old drive from Dorset, especially when it's snowing on the way. It's been a bit of a trek to get here, let me tell you. So, why have I come all this way to Swansea? Well, there's one big American chain, which has got 1,300 branches in the States, another 300 in various places around the world, and just one here in the UK. And it's here, in Swansea, for a reason I can't quite work out. Not the most convenient place to put one, but it's here just above my shoulder. It's called DENNY'S. Now, I'm sure all of you will have heard of DENNY'S. Like I say, it's such a big name in the States. They're famous for their breakfasts, their burgers, pancakes, melt sandwiches, all that sort of stuff. So we're going to get inside here and see what it's all about today. And warm up a little bit. Blimey, it's cold. So let's get inside. So I've come inside and I've been seated. Very, very friendly server. Met me at the door, brought me in, put me in a little booth here. It seems to be mostly booth seating. There's some bigger than others. Most of them are set for 4 people, but there are some bigger ones that you can probably sit 6, 8, even 10 people around, I think. I'm given a menu here. There is also a festive menu. I am here kind of late November, so that's kind of kicked in, but I'm not going to be going for that today. I'm going to try and find out what they're all about on their general menu. Now, the general menu is pretty extensive. I'll run through it on the screen in a little while. We've got a page of breakfasts, a page of pancakes, then there's some waffles, French toast, burgers and hot dogs, melt sandwiches and salads, diner specials, kids menu, sides and sharers, and then all the desserts, milkshakes and drinks. So, I mean, this book, it's got like 8 pages, this menu. So there's a lot to choose from. I've got to say, in here, it's decorated quite nicely. They've got all the Christmas decorations up at the moment, so, you know, that kind of gives it a festive feel. But it does look a bit like you'd expect a slightly upmarket American diner to look like inside. It's not bad at all. So here's the order that I'm putting together. We've gone for the All-American Slam Breakfast, blueberry pancakes, New York melt sandwich, and a bottomless filter coffee. I'll explain all of these in a little bit more detail as we go along. And that's going to be a total there of £36.46. So one thing they have got here, which is a little bit different to a lot of places, this little call button. So basically that's on the table, and anytime you actually want some attention from your server, you can just press that rather than having to try and get their attention, which I think is quite a nice little touch. Anyway, the first cup of filter coffee has been brought over. As expected, it doesn't smell like the best coffee in the world, but we'll try it. We've got add a little splash of milk in there. Now, obviously, back in the day, maybe 30 odd years ago, filter coffee was all the rage, wasn't it? We all had those little ones in our house, didn't we? You'd put the ground coffee in, you'd have a little paper filter, fill up the little jug at the back of it with water, and you get a cup of what was supposed to be better than instant coffee out of it. Times have moved on since then. And this is, I guess, what the Americans would still call a cup of joe, isn't it? It's quite bitter. I don't have sugar in my coffee. But yeah, this is it's not quite what we're used to these days, where you go out and you get really nice, you know, like flat whites and cortados and all that kind of stuff. This is just a bog standard filter coffee. So I've been waiting a little over 10 minutes for my order at the moment. There are a couple of other people in here eating. It did say it would be about a 10-minute wait when I did it on the app. We've hit 11, they're late. Latest update, we are now 23 minutes after ordering, still no food. Is it going to come? I mean, I'm now one of 3 tables in this restaurant, so I can't imagine the kitchen are that busy, right? Anyway, the wait continues. Okay guys, food has arrived. It took 30 minutes from the time of ordering for this to arrive. 30 minutes. So we've got a breakfast here. We have the melt sandwich, and we have the blueberry pancakes. So come in and take a closer look at it all. Okay then guys, so I've got myself another top up of the old coffee going on here. It's bottomless after all, so might as well take advantage of it, especially when you're waiting so bloody long, you need to stay awake. So we're going to start off with this this breakfast. This is the All-American Slam, I think this was called. So we've got scrambled eggs here, which I think have got cheese infused into them. The hash brown, which is as I expected, not one of those horrible triangular things, but shredded potato cooked all together on like a hot plate. A couple of the world's smallest sausages. I mean, take a look at these. I mean, that's pathetic, isn't it? A couple of slices of streaky bacon, and one thing for sure, they didn't spend the 30 minutes cooking the toast. Look at that. I mean, it is actually crispy. It's actually coloured on one side, but not the other. Don't ask, who knows? Who knows? So we're going to get in and try this. So we'll start with the scrambled egg. Now, this doesn't look too bad. So it looks possibly a little dry on the outside. I do wonder if this is something that's made fresh or maybe just brought in and warmed on site. It's got quite a nice flavour to it. You can taste the cheese in there. It tastes a lot like a cheese omelette would taste, you know. Not a lot of seasoning to it. Could certainly do with a bit of pepper. Let me just grab that from over there. Let's see if that livens things up a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Well, I wonder if the hash brown is going to be seasoned or not. So this is just grated potato. I'm not sure how well cooked it is in the middle, to be honest with you, but we'll see. Again, no real discernible seasoning on there. Maybe a touch of salt is in there, but certainly no pepper. We'll try it with that. I have to say, it does feel a little greasy, like they've used a bit too much oil in making it, but a little dash of pepper on there certainly has helped. What are we moving on to next? Take a look at this sausage. Now, that is a pathetic looking sausage, isn't it? I mean, it's literally a two-biter. So we'll get one half of it. In fairness, the taste is quite nice. It's not a standard like British breakfast sausage. It is just a pork sausage though. Just wish it was a bit bigger, or there were one or two more of them, to be honest. Bear in mind, this plate, I think it's $11.99. I'm not seeing a lot on here that justifies that price tag just yet. Like the bacon. I mean, this is dripping in grease onto the plate. Can you see that? So that's not too appealing. Well, again, a bit like the toast. One side of it looks cooked, the other side doesn't. So maybe they just grilled it on one side, who knows? Let's see how it is though. It's a smoked streaky bacon. And there's quite an art to the way they've done this, because they've managed to make it greasy yet dry at the same time. So the outside of it is covered in grease. And I'll bring you in to have a little look at the plate in a minute so you can see how much grease is on here. But the actual bacon itself just feels a bit dry once you get past that grease. How that is possible, given the laws of physics, who knows? But they've managed it. So let's try this toast. Okay, I'm not expecting great things of this. Kind of almost burnt on one side, not even toasted on the other. Pre-buttered with some kind of spread. I don't know if it is actual butter or not. Very cheap white bread too. Kind of like supermarket toasting bread. It has almost a sweetness to it. Again, very, very dry. The butter on there isn't helping at all. Yeah, I've got to say, overall, this plate is pretty unimpressive. Let's have a look at all the grease on the plate there. Can you see that swimming around on the bottom of the plate? has come out of that hash and the bacon. It makes it fairly unpleasant to eat, to be honest. Okay, time for another slurp of coffee. That's not really helping either, if I'm perfectly honest. So this is the New York Melt, that's right, with the pastrami, American and Swiss cheese, tomato pickles and mustard mayo with a garlic kind of butter on the outside of the sandwich. So, first impressions, the bread looks very similar to the bread that you've got there on the breakfast plate. But at least there's a bit of colour to this. You take a little look here. You can see the inside of the sandwich there, perhaps. A bit of pastrami there. I'll open it up. I can definitely get a garlic smell off of it. So there's some pastrami, which, to be honest, I mean, it's not the pastrami you'd get in the States where it's hand sliced off a big piece of meat. It's just like the stuff you'd get in your local supermarket, to be honest. We've got a bit of tomato in there. I mean, it all looks a bit processed, I think is probably the best word to describe it. The two different cheeses, the mustard mayo. But let's give it a try. Straight off the bat, the sandwich has got a nice crunch. And it's obviously been grilled in that garlic butter. Again, on the hot plate. The overriding flavour out of it is that mustard mayo so far. There's a lot of it in the sandwich. I'm getting a bit of that tomato now, but one thing I'm not getting is any flavour from that pastrami. I'm going to try it by itself now. I'm going to open this sandwich up and try and get a bit of pastrami that doesn't really have too much of anything else on it. There we go. We've got a piece here now. So let's try that on its own. There's barely any flavour to it at all. Even on its own, you'd be hard pressed to tell that's pastrami. The flavour of the rest of the sandwich, with the bits of pickle in there, with the mustard mayo, it's not unpleasant. But it's also unremarkable. I really don't know what to make of this, to be honest. This plate with the fries, I think it's $12.99. Again, does not strike me as great value at this point. Let's move on to these fries though. And what we've got here is these little scoopy ones again. I had these at Jamie Oliver's recently in Dublin, and also at the Rate My Takeaway kitchen, the Hoo-Yah burger joint there. Had these little chips that they're hollowed out so that you can scoop up sauce and whatever, but of course here, there isn't any. So we're going to add a little bit of ketchup onto the plate and see how it goes with that. We'll try it on its own first though. And they're soggy. See that? I mean, I've got to say, it's pretty disappointing. Now, these don't seem like the same quality as the fries that were available at Jamie Oliver's. I mean, if you look here, you've got little itty-bitty kind of ones too, which obviously don't fit with the scooping kind of thing, but, I mean, look, let me bring this up close. It bends into a complete, like, horseshoe shape without splitting because it's just soggy. Try it with a bit of ketchup, see how the flavour goes with that. When you get the flavour of it, with that, ketchup, do you know what? It reminds me of when you get cold McDonald's fries. It's that same flavour sensation. These are not as good as the little scoopy fries I got at Jamie Oliver's or at Hoo-Yah by a million miles. Now, these blueberry pancakes are going to have to work hard to save the day. They really are. Now, what I will note, right off the outset, these are topped in a whipped butter, as you can see here. Okay? That hasn't melted at all. Now, I've obviously eaten 2 plates of food and been talking about both of them. You would have expected, if these were warm, that butter would have melted, at least partially by now. I mean, even inside, in between the 2 pancakes, it's barely lukewarm. Now that you would expect to have kept warm, even if the outside goes a little bit cold while I'm chatting about the other dishes. The things I have to do for this channel sometimes, frightening. So, let's spread a little bit of that butter over the pancake. And we'll see how it is. So, I mean, it doesn't even cut as one. Look at that, it's just falling apart. Let's give it a try. This reminds me a lot of those little pancakes you get in the supermarkets that you can put in the toaster. Just a bit bigger and a bit thicker. The blueberries inside are quite nice. They do add a little sort of pop of flavour, pop of freshness. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's fluffy. A bit more fluffy as you get towards the middle. But like I say, pretty cold. Not been offered any syrup or anything to go on top of them. The butter isn't really adding an awful lot. I really don't know what to make of all of this, to be honest. I've had some pretty disappointing experiences at American fast food places of late. My experience at Wendy's was not great, was it? My experience at Shake Shack was not great. This might be worse than both of them. There is very, very little to redeem this, to be honest. I mean, these 3 plates, these were $7.99, these 2 pancakes. $11.99 for the breakfast, $12.99 for the sandwich with the fries, and £3.50 for fairly unpleasant bottomless coffee. I mean, can I pick any positives out of it? I mean, the scrambled eggs, okay. The sausages taste nice. And that's about it. But as you can probably imagine, I'm not going to be finishing any more of this, to be honest with you. I'm just going to, well, I don't have to pay the bill, do I? I've already paid it, did it on the app. So, yeah, I can just get out of here and we'll talk about it a bit more outside, shall we? Right then, folks. So I've come outside of the restaurant now. I have to say, this is the first time, pretty much, since I've been doing the channel, that I had to call someone over at the end and explain just how poor I think things were. Maybe I should have done that when I did the long leap video too. But this is right up there with that one for just how poor I think it really was. The 30-minute wait for food in an empty restaurant, I just think is ridiculous. I ordered it on the app, as they wanted me to, at 25 past the hour. It actually said the wait time was 10 minutes, and it took 30. In that time, there were 2 other tables in the restaurant. By the time the food had been delivered to me, one of them had already left because they'd eaten, so they weren't being brought any stuff. It was only one other table that was being cooked for. That's unacceptable in my opinion. Now, if the food had been spectacular and they'd spent 30 minutes really cooking and preparing it nicely, okay, maybe you'd forgive it, maybe. But what I got was absolute rubbish. I mean, like I said, I think Wendy's was bad, I think Shake Shack was bad, and I think this was worse, honestly. The breakfast plate, just dreadful. The bacon was greasy yet dry. 2 tiny little sausages, which in fairness tasted quite nice. The scrambled egg was okay, tasted a bit like a cheesy omelette. Hash brown was greasy and unpleasant and left a big pool of grease all over the plate. The toast, how do you cook toast on one side and don't even present that side? Bonkers, bonkers. Moving on to the melt sandwich with the pastrami and the New York melt. No discernible flavour to that pastrami at all. The sandwich just made with cheap white bread, nothing special about that at all. The rest of the fillings, you know, pickles were okay, the mustard mayo was okay. The cheese tasted very, very processed. And the fries were just bendy and soggy. Awful, absolutely awful. The pancakes, again, bland, dry, not warm when they were served. Presumably they were cooked sometime before the rest of it was, because when they put the butter on, didn't even start to melt. One thing I will point out actually is that when I was speaking to the guy afterwards, he did show that there was some maple syrup on the table that I could have used to liven things up a little bit. So, okay, my mistake there. But I don't think it would have saved it, to be honest with you. Don't think it would have saved it. Yeah, just wasn't great. Wasn't great at all. So, let's think about a score. I mean, I scored Wendy's 1.5 out of 5. And people told me that was generous. Well, this was definitely worse than that. I'm tempted to give it 0.5 out of 5. The coffee wasn't great. I mean, the server when I came in was very nice, but she was nowhere to be seen most of the time. I had to press a little button to get the guy to come over so I could have a little moan at him at the end because there was no one around that you could see anywhere. Yeah, overall, hugely disappointing experience. Yeah, we're going to go with a 0.5 out of 5, and that's only because the sausages tasted good and the scrambled egg omelette-y thing was okay. The rest of it, terrible. Absolutely terrible. £36, not well spent. I think it's pretty obvious why Denny's have set up here a little bit out of the way and they haven't rolled out anywhere else in the country. This is the only one here. There's no one in it and the food's horrible. So I don't think we're going to be seeing them all around the country anytime soon, are we? Right then guys, well if you've enjoyed this video of watching me suffer here at Denny's in Swansea, don't forget leave a thumbs up on there for me, it does help with the channel. And if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, why not consider hitting the subscribe button, delve into the back catalogue, but also click that bell for notifications. That way, when a new video comes up, you'll be the first to know. Right, where to next? Somewhere better and tastier, I hope. It's been a long way to come for this, let me tell you. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.